Welcome back to the Bench Street Podcast. I'm George Niang. This is my co-host Kevin Spees, and we're really excited about the hot topics we have this
live
week.
and direct.
Yeah, we're here together. You know, there's not a screen between us. Let's do this, man.
It's good to smell you, man. We are here in New York City at Melrose Podcast, as you can see by the water. Is this Lower East Side or East Village? East Village.
It's March.
It's March. And speaking of March, it's about to be the tournament, which means we are going to be betting. And if you, and we know you are going to be betting, sign up for MyBookie. Use promo code GrillGuy, get half your deposit matched. Even if you're in a state that doesn't have MyBookie, there's a couple, almost 50 states are legal with MyBookie. Even if it's not, go in, use promo code GrillGuy. When you get to the state that has MyBookie, you have free money sitting there. Half your deposit's
We
matched.
want you to have free money. That's all we want. We're good. We want you to have free money.
You're good. I'm not good yet, but I'm hoping to get like you someday. We are here in New York City. The Hawks are in town playing the Brooklyn Nets, which, there was some rough news that came out that Thomas is out for the rest of the year. Did you see that? I think Cam Thomas is out for the rest of the year.
That's unfortunate.
Unfortunate. We'll get to that. I do want to talk about how well the Hawks have been playing. Now, we should get the elephant out of the room, which is that last night wasn't the best game ever.
Stinker, starting with Niang.
You know, it was weird because, anyone that's played basketball, and this usually happens in high school when just people are just in general a little less consistent. Yeah. Sometimes you just walk into a gym and the basket is this big, in your mind. You just can't hit shit. And that third quarter, it was just obvious, this is one of those nights. This is not a lack of effort. This is not this offense is bad. It was just one of those nights.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can even start it with me. We weren't, I didn't make shots, and it kind of trickled down the line, when we needed to make timely shots. We didn't. But credit, the Clippers team, they've done a really good job of kind of tightening up their defense, being able to switch 1 through 5 and do what they do. But obviously, we had won 4 in a row, which is great. Obviously, you want to avoid hiccups. We had a hiccup at home, but I think the biggest thing for us is continuing. How are we going to respond? And I think with the young team that we have, that's kind of like the lessons you learn in the NBA. Yes, teams are going to beat other teams. You're going to get popped. Championship. Hasn't been a championship team that hasn't lost by 20. You know what I mean? It happens, and it's as a young team you learn okay, how are you going to respond? Coming back the next night and being last night, have amnesia, flush it, whatever. Now we got to move on and grow. And there was, good things to pick up from that. I mean, Vit Krejci has been balling.
He's been hooping.
He's been balling for us. Onyeka Okongwu is really coming along, as a starting center. So we have a lot of things to, be happy about, but obviously I think everybody in that locker room wants to win, so losing last night obviously sucked, but we have a road trip. We got to put that behind us and get rolling.
It's on to the next shit, ASAP.
Yeah.
I got to say, watching that clip is the first Clippers game I've seen this year. It's good to see Chris Dunn, because he was a top 5 pick, and there was all this hype for him coming out of Providence. He was a great college player, and still, I guess maybe struggles with the shot a little bit, but man, is he a lockdown defender? Did he guard you at all? I don't remember.
I think he guarded me one time, and I thought me and Chris actually grew up together. So
you did
playing against him when I was at Hoop Mountain Camp, and then friggin', he obviously went to Providence. We didn't play each other in college. He was injured for a good amount of time in his college career, and he's made an NBA career out of it. So credit to him. He hasn't had the easiest journey. He had, definitely a tough upbringing and has, stayed at this level. It's impressive. You cheer for guys that just keep their head down and keep grinding. So he's a really good defender. Yeah, he got drafted, I think, 4. I was 50.
Well, I was looking at that top 5. Do you remember that top 5 in that draft? It was Ben Simmons,
Jaylen Brown.
Bet 2 was Ingram. 3, Brandon Ingram. 3 was Jaylen Brown. 4, Dragon Bender. And 5 was Chris Dunn.
Wow, to Minnesota.
So I don't want to say that's a top 5 that a lot of those guys
What do you mean? There's 3 of the top 5. Oh, 2.
I'm just saying, yeah. They're not having the best. Ben Simmons hasn't had the best career.
I mean, he had a good career until.
Yeah, he did.
The guy's still, talented, obviously.
Of course,
you know, and then with his injuries, it's tough. And then, he had a tough bucket against us last night. But, he's seamlessly fitting in over
He's
there.
shooting. It's good to see, like, him shooting genuinely. Like, I don't mean that, like, to be, like, a dick or whatever. But, there's times where he wasn't even fucking shooting the ball. So it's good to see him shooting. And, yeah, I really wanted Terrence to get that win against those guys. Yeah. And I know for him, he's a professional. It's any other game, but it's cool. I guess the redemption is in his expanded role and how well he's been playing for you guys.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. I mean, you think about what Terrence brings to the table, a facilitator, a hard-nosed player, a defender, rebounder, kind of jack-of-all-trades guy. He's been tremendous. He was good last night. Like you said, when you have an ex-teammate or when you have a teammate that's playing against his ex-team, you really want to go out there and get that one.
Yeah.
And
you guys rally a little bit about that? Do you talk about that?
It just didn't. Yeah, we were rallying. We were talking about it. Yeah, but it's the same thing for Atlanta, right? You don't want to let Bogdanovich come in and kind of do his thing. And he was pretty good last night. You got to flush those things. It happens.
Game over.
Move on. And we're rolling. Hawks are still in a great place, and I'm excited about where we're going.
You guys are in a great spot. And I did send you a text that was something I saw on Twitter that was like the Hawks' offensive efficiency and offensive rating with you and Karras is the highest it's ever been all year is when you and Karras are on the floor.
Let's go offense.
And someone responded, I didn't tell you this yet, but you're going to hear it now. Someone responded, what about Niang on defense? And the guy who wrote it was like, surprisingly, Niang is like a very good defender.
Whoever wrote that.
Appreciate you. People gotta
close your eyes last night.
People gotta understand. The casual NBA fan will look at someone and say, are they tall and athletic? If the answer is yes, they're a good defender. And if you don't watch and you don't see schematically how good you are defensively, because the truth is, let's be honest, if you're out on an island versus Chris Dunn being out on an island, he's probably a little bit better being out on that island than you are. Yes, okay. But you rarely find yourself in that position because of how good you are schematically on the defensive end.
I appreciate you giving me all these compliments.
I gotta hype my boy up.
Perception is some people's reality. So at some points, people are thinking, this is what it is, and casual fans are allowed to have their opinions. Twitter was made to give them an actual platform, right?
Yeah.
And you think about now that we'll kind of transition the conversation into how college kids are kind of getting upset about you seeing the thing from the kid from Indiana where it's just it's not right. The big guy, he essentially was saying it's not right. We play bad. The fans are upset. Like this, that, and the other. Like when you are paid to do a job, right? And people feel like that job is not getting done. People who don't have the authority would want to fire you. Like fans of whatever organization you are, whatever school, are like, I'm a part of this. I want to fire you. It's like if someone came over and cleaned your house and you come over and the house is still dirty, you want to fire them, right?
Like, what's going on?
So if you're not living up to the expectation that they think that you have with right, wrong, or indifferent, they want to fire you. But at the end of the day, you're getting paid, you're having NIL money. That doesn't stop it from having emotion and feelings. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to just separate the two. Who I am on the court is everything and anything when I'm on the court. Yeah. And working out and doing all these other things. But when I'm off the court, I'm a regular, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm all those things. And you kind of have to just wrap your head around it. Put that over there, right? No matter what people say about you, that's the character that you have to, because at the end of the day, sports are entertainment, right? Right. So that's the character that you act out and that you portray, and whether if that's hard playing or too smooth or swaggy, whatever it is, that's who you are. Who you are in your real life is who you are down to your core. So don't let what people say about you when you're doing your job and you're entertaining be the end all be all.
Or give you you can't put too much value in it and shit.
Yeah, because people are saying these things because they have their own issues and insecurities or things that they wish that they had, or it's
How did you feel? We didn't talk about this previously, but how did you feel about Bron that Stephen A. Smith shit? Did you think that was like kind of a misstep on Bron's end, or do you kind of get where he's coming from?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we all have feelings, right? And I think from a father standpoint, you got to stand up for your son. Like,
yeah.
So the way Stephen A. put it, but I like dug deep and did some more research, like, and went and looked and correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I had downloaded like the G League app. Like, Bron is averaging like 20 points.
He's going off.
Yeah, he's 20 points in the G League. I'm like, what are people
saying?
Talking shit. Like, okay, yeah, whatever he did in college, cool, whatever. He got drafted. He's here. It happens, right? Okay, he was a 56 pick. He's averaging 20 points in the G League and like actually making a good amount of threes. Like, I think it's like 25-5, right? The kid's 20 years old, like, is just flowing into it. Like, just like
chill.
Pump the brakes. At first, I thought I was going to see him averaging like 3 points, but he's averaging 20 points in the G League. So against other pros, he's growing at a rapid rate. So at this point, I understand Bron being a dad, but I know as him as a player, he's like, okay, just like, wait, just watch.
Man, it is so annoying to hear people that are all the people that say these type of things are just LeBron haters and they're MJ blowjob artists. They just love Michael Jordan, and so they're like, this guy got his son drafted. It's like, okay, dude, you can think all that. At the end of the day, he was a McDonald's All-American.
Yeah,
which means he was a top 20 player in his entire class. Okay, got a scholarship to USC. That doesn't happen because of your dad. There's too many moving parts, right? He's injured, has whatever, some issues, gets drafted 55th because people took a shot on potential, which happens in the NBA all the time.
It's in the
and
50s,
he's in the 50s, and he has proven his stock.
Yeah.
In fact, he's kind of outperforming. He's 55th. He is playing great in the G League. A lot of people don't even get G League minutes. So I thought that was annoying. However, I will say I thought the misstep was doing it on the court where there's cameras. You know, that conversation could have happened behind closed doors, but, you know, whatever. If someone was talking shit about my kid like that, I'd probably do the same fucking thing.
He's a father, man. He has to stand up. He probably gets to see his son be upset. Like,
yeah,
you gotta stand up for your son. I understand it.
Speaking of college kids, there's been a lot of talk about this NIL situation, which is just the fucking Wild West right now. People are just, I mean, Dan Hurley did a 60 Minutes, and he said he's a 2-time defending national championship, and he knows for a fact that half of his kids are gone. He even knows a lot of where his kids are going and how much they're getting paid.
Wow, I didn't see that.
So what is your take on that? I mean, like, it's cool that these kids are getting paid. I'm all for that.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of turned into the wild, wild west, right? But at the end of the day, this is kind of what the scheme has come out to, right? The NCAA for so long
was the worst organization in the fucking world.
I mean, I'm not going to go as far to say that because you give people the opportunity to show their skill to then advance into the NBA, which early on, before there's like streaming and all this TV money, you know what I mean? And there was like one channel, CBS, like there were games. And now that there's games all over the place, they didn't adapt to it and kind of like let players kind of get benefits or money or whatever. They were always just like, oh, you're going to a tournament, here's a free iPad, here's a TV. And now what it's turned into is like, people are competitive. They want their universities to do well. I'm even in that category where you will pay, which is now legal. Before it was illegal, to make sure that your team has enough funding to then.
So you'll drop a couple dollars to that fund or whatever? You don't have to say, but I know people that.
Yeah, no, and I think what it has to turn into is that these students need to start to be paid as employees.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you know, people are going to look at it as like somehow it needs to be like, if I'm going to fund this, how is it going to be like if I grow Iowa State or UConn or Seton Hall or whatever, if I grow this athletic program by donating, like how much stake do I have in the athletic program? And when that streams out money, whether it's ticket sales, TV sales, or hot dog sales, how am I getting a return on that? And these players are somewhat employees. And I think there has
just
to be a cap on it, because at the end of the day, sometimes it's baffling that, you go backwards when you enter professional. Like I made way more money in college.
Yeah. For a lot of kids, like think about Tyler Hansborough. He would have made millions and millions of dollars. He would have made more in his college career than he did in his NBA career. I don't know what he made in his NBA career, but I'm sure
100%. You're right. Maybe I should go back on that take, because it's like sometimes there's good college players that don't,
or like you're really good at your one school, but it's not, whatever. Like Purdue's best player isn't always going to be like a great NBA player or whatever. I'm just using an example. Yeah. But I had this argument with my friends. All my friends were talking about it, and some of them are even like donors for their alumnus basketball program, and they're like,
which one? Like,
no, just like
NYU?
No, Maryland. Kid went to Maryland. He's like, whatever he pays or whatever. And he's like, I don't want to do it. Yeah, I don't want to. Or he's like, I don't want to do it anymore. Or who knows where the money's going. I get it, because you're going to help pay a kid who's going to be gone the next year. Then it's like, where is the return on my investment? Right. So the idea is like maybe they can figure out contracts. But the alternative is what it was before. And what it was before was corrupt. It was the NCAA and conferences and schools making millions, billions of dollars off of athletes' backs and not allowing them to even sign their own jerseys and make a few dollars off of it. So the people I don't feel bad for are the universities. I don't feel bad for them. I do not feel bad for the NCAA. I do not feel bad for the conferences who profited for years and years and years and were corrupt about the whole thing. And the last thing I don't feel bad for, which is surprising, are coaches. Because coaches are making, UConn, you're a state employee, you're making $7 million a year, whatever it is. Yeah. You're all right. You can figure it out.
Or back in the day, the funny part is a coach could take a job and then take another job and not have to sit out. If you messed up picking a school, you had to sit out a whole calendar year.
It kept a lot of people. And by the way, like my example was, if it weren't for NIL, we wouldn't have dude from Auburn who's the best player in the country. Johnny, what's his name? I can't think of his last name. I'm thinking
Appleseed?
No, I can't think of his name.
Is it the Brome? Like his last name?
Brome. Yeah, big dude. He was at McNeese State. He started off,
go ahead, man.
McNeese State or something like that, and bumped up. Now
I'll tell you this: like as a coaching,
best player in the country.
As a coach, it's tough to depend on 18-year-old, 19-year-old men to win, and realistically, that's your livelihood. Like my paycheck is dependent on how these guys perform, and that's why if you're a good coach, you're a good coach, and you make it work.
I think the best thing, the just figure out a way where they got to sign a contract where it's like you can keep them for 2 years or something like that. I don't know the ins and outs of that. Speaking of NIL, college, and speaking of coaches, a legend from a state you're very familiar with, McCaffrey in Iowa, was dismissed.
Yeah.
Guy who had a great career, guy whose son played for him 2 years ago. Both sons played for him. Was a great Big Ten coach. Had a lot of pretty solid teams. Yeah. Do you have any run-ins with McCaffrey? You know him at all?
He actually recruited me.
He did.
So I was actually on a visit to Iowa before I went to Iowa State.
Really?
Yeah. So I got to meet him. He actually coached at Siena before. I didn't know him then, but when he first got the job in Iowa, wow, it's 15 years ago.
Damn, yeah.
Other than us playing them and having I don't want to say bad blood, but like being intense in your rivalry, I think for, what Iowa basketball has done, have they underachieved some years? Yeah, of course. He was there for 15 years. He had an AP player of the year in Luka Garza. Sometimes like the changing of terrain, right, with NIL, like some schools are going to have to take a dip off, and it's harder to get players, or your style doesn't fit the type of players that want to get paid. So, he's been in this business a long time. I think if he wants to coach again, he'll be able to coach again. Obviously, I'm a big proponent of like if you've been there 10 plus years, I don't like the dismissed. Like if you've put 10 plus years and maybe I don't know what relationship the AD or
steps
whatever,
down,
you can just be like, yeah, he's moving on.
He's stepping
down. Give him that. I mean, regardless of how it looked, how it was, he gave you 15 years. Yeah. I don't know what exactly the accolades or whatever they had achieved, but I mean, he put in 15 years.
Ben, you
guys were competitive.
Yeah.
You had opportunities to win the Big Ten. So
you're a Big Ten coach for 15 years. That doesn't happen often. He's probably the most tenured, aside from Izzo, I'd say. Right? I don't know who else has been there. Guard hasn't been there 15 years at Wisconsin. Michigan's changed over. Rutgers, Pikel's a few years in. Yeah, I guess there's USC and shit I don't know much about, but still, I think he's
new conferences.
Yeah, it's a brand new fucking conference. Speaking of Iowa State, the kryptonite must be BYU.
I mean, it's tough to beat people that don't drink. No, BYU.
Have you used that before? That's pretty good.
And BYU handed it
Gave
to
them
us
the
at home, and I just think the head coach of BYU used to be an assistant for the Phoenix Suns, and the way that they play kind of goes hand in hand against like what everything in college are kind of taught in college, like take away the paint. When their drives, take away the paint. Like, so the way BYU plays is they drive it in there, they kick, they swing, they're looking to shoot threes, and when they're on, good luck.
They shoot,
because they got 4 out shooters around one big. And that big is dunking, blocking shots, playing defense, offensive rebounding, looking to kick out. So they kind of have a good scheme over there. It'll be interesting to see. They have that number 1 recruit coming in next year. So BYU should be.
Yeah, that dude at BYU.
He's from Massachusetts.
Yeah. I forget his name, but he's supposed to be a stud.
Yeah, they should be.
Pretty damn
they
good.
should be pretty talented. Iowa State, hopefully we can get healthy. We are in need of a deep tournament run.
Probably a 3 or a 4 seed.
Yeah,
you think?
Come on, Joe Lenardi, give us a 3 seed.
Yeah,
come on. We watching on Sunday.
I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see, the tournament. You can say, oh, it's a 3 seed. We got a good shot. You never know what the matchup is. Like you're saying with BYU, it comes down to matchups. And you can get put in a bad matchup or you can get put up in some favorable matchups. And it's hard to predict what a team's going to do until you see who they're up against or potentially going to be up against in later rounds.
Yeah.
You can't say, I don't know who's going to, I want to be like, you pick them for the Final Four. Who are you to say? You can't say that yet because you don't know who they're going to go
There's
up against.
There's no dead favorite at this point that you think is going to like win it. Like last year it was Purdue and
UConn.
And they were like clear-cut favorites. You had like those 2 monsters, Donovan Clingan and Zach Edey going up against each other. I was like, wow.
And Stephon Castle, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Like, what? And then you see Jaquan Newton, he's on a 2-way in Minnesota. The white kid Cam Spencer is
hooping and talking shit to Kevin Durant.
Yeah, so it's like these are the guys that they had on their team.
Do you know the story about Cam Spencer's brother who is in
he's a lacrosse player and picked it up and is playing for the Golden State Warriors. Shout out the Spencer family. Those athletic genes. Wow.
Studs.
Yeah.
He was like he's like NCAA's top 5 all-time lacrosse player. Loyola, Maryland, then went to Northwestern for a year, post-grad, and then his brother just did basketball. But apparently Cam Spencer is also freak lacrosse player. Could have been one of the best all time. I'm excited to see what's going on.
So who's going to be in your Final Four, or should I give you mine?
Give me your Final Four because you kind of already know who the 4 seeds are going to be at this point. But go ahead.
I mean, I think
give me your Final Four.
See, I like Creighton.
Really? Okay.
Houston
is going to be a 1 seed.
Obviously, I'm essentially only going to pick 3 because Iowa State's going to be in there.
Yeah. Okay. Iowa State. And then you got basically you got to choose. You got to take an SEC team. So you got Auburn. You got.
I don't.
Florida.
I don't see anybody slowing up Auburn.
Yeah.
But I like Florida.
I think Alabama. I don't want to say this, but I don't think I would get along with Nate Oates.
Why?
I just think our personalities would clash.
Yeah, because you're the problem.
I wouldn't say that
Nate
at
Oates,
all.
I got nothing but love from you. Shout out Romulus High School. Shout out Alabama.
Cool story.
My boys down there. BA, I see you running the defense down there. Roll Tide, roll.
That being said, he is an incredible coach, and he has these dudes hooping. So I think Alabama's got a good shot. I do think Auburn's going to go, especially just taking a loss in the SEC tournament. Sometimes that wakes teams up. I think Michigan State's going to go to the Final Four. I think Michigan State is And first off, it's Izzo. So you already know this motherfucker's got a shot at anytime he's in the fucking tournament. And they're the best team in the Big Ten. They just lost to Michigan. They just lost to Wisconsin, which is another really, really good team, sleeper. But I think Michigan State's going to be in the Final Four. So who did I pick? I said Auburn, Michigan State, obviously depending on seeding. I think probably Florida also is going to be up there.
You didn't say Alabama.
And then Alabama.
Houston. 3 SEC schools?
Yeah, I don't think Houston's going to be in. I don't think Houston's going to make it. Houston always is like a really tough defensive team, and then they always have a hard time scoring, and that hurts you. That's why I'm not picking St. John's either. St. John's will be a 2 seed. Those dudes cannot shoot.
Are they winning right now?
Yeah, they're probably going to win this. They're playing Creighton. So
in New
York City, I know. Okay, let's get back to a little NBA. I'd like to ask you, it's really a 2-man race at this point. It comes down to the beast from the – I'm just kidding. I don't know if he's the beast from the East. But the big man, the Big Easy, as they would say, Nikola Jokic.
He's not the beast from the East.
I know, but I'm saying he's from Eastern Europe. So
Serbia.
maybe that. And then the Canadian Goose, who I just made up by myself, SGA. Who do you think is the MVP? Is it different than who do you think should win it? Is who you think should win it different from who you think is going to win it?
I think it's going to be SGA. But I know Nikola Jokic has 3 of them, but when you look at his stats, I mean, he's averaging a triple-double.
Dude, and he had...
So I think it's going to be SGA, but I'm like, Nikola Jokic is just as deserving, if not more deserving, like averaging a triple-double as a big...
has them set. You can't really put the winning thing because they're 2nd seed now.
Yeah.
It's not like they were the 5th seed like they were before.
Yeah, I mean, does he have the depth that the Thunder have? No. Does he have more stars? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. SGA for a guard shooting 50% from the field.
I mean, the guy's averaging 30
If I had
points.
to vote right now,
Who'd you pick?
I would say Nikola Jokic.
Okay, here's my
But I
argument.
think SGA is going to win.
Here's my argument why it's not Nikola.
Why?
Okay. First off, there's something to be. First off, nobody knows what the award really awards. Is it most valuable player? Meaning, if that person's gone, the team does horrible, right? Like the most valuable player is like this person is so valuable to their team that if they're gone, the team gets
Yeah,
so
which
much worse.
everybody knows that's
Not what it
leading
is.
with stats. Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
okay. So if Nikola is off the Denver Nuggets, they are an 8 seed. If SGA is off OKC, they're probably a 3 or 4 seed. They're still a really good team, right? That's not what the award is, though. The award a lot of times is the best player on the best team. That's a lot of times what it is. It's the best player on the best team.
Well,
So
Nikola
if it's
Jokic has won 3 out of the 4. So
If it's the best player on the best team, it's SGA, hands down. He is the best player on the best team.
okay.
Here's the other thing that's not taken account is how good SGA is on the defensive end, which Nikola Jokic is not the greatest defender. I don't have the number in front of me.
Guys, this is how we're going to go with perception over reality.
You can't tell me you think Nikola Jokic is a better defender on a center than SGA is on a guard.
I think they're equivalent defenders.
I have a hard time agreeing with you.
Here Kevin goes again about talking about defense and rating of someone's MVP. It's the most disgusting thing that I've ever heard. If you want defense to be involved, talk about the defensive player of the year, not MVP. Nikola Jokic is Nikola Jokic is averaging, I think, 20-something points, 11 rebounds, and like 11 assists. No, I think it's 13 rebounds, and,
13
like,
rebounds.
and 11 assists. And you want to sit here and tell me that his defense is just like,
I'm just
Bruh, he averages a triple-double.
That can be a tiebreaker because SGA is also scoring a lot more. He's scoring 32 points a game.
No, there's like 6 more points.
It's a lot.
He's grabbing 13 rebounds and 11 assists.
He does everything. I get it.
So you're sitting here telling me but his defense is just a little bit better. Bro.
I think that's if you're gonna go for like if
No.
You can't tell me that defense shouldn't come into effect for someone that's
So when it was Joel and Nikola Jokic, you want to know what put it over the top was Joel was averaging like
Joel's also a much better defender than Jokic is, and people were talking about that. So it's hard, like that. It's a overall award. It is not just a defensive or an offensive award. It is an overall award, and I think it has to come into account. And I think SGA is also on part of a defense that OKC defense. You've played against it a bunch of times.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Tough.
And it's like a team.
Anyway, you're wrong. You just want it to be Nikola because you like big guys better than you like guards. Speaking of guards and forwards, I don't know why I keep doing that. There's no segue here. I just want to ask you about Angel Reese. Angel Reese got in our podcast and said that if the WNBA players don't get what they want, they're going to strike. This is in news. What is your thought process on the payment of?
But like going on strike, like not playing.
Yeah, they're like, we'll sit out. Now look,
I would tread lightly on that.
I personally think yes, they should be making a little more money.
No, for sure, but it's not lightning in a bottle. Like this is like a process. Like you think about like 10, 11, 12 years ago, like the minimums were, or when I first started 9 years ago, the minimums were like 545,000. That was the minimum, right?
Yeah.
That would probably be close to like a max contract.
Yeah.
But like you're picking up momentum. So when you pick up momentum and then say like, oh, this isn't enough. Like, listen, I don't know what happens behind closed doors in the WNBA. I don't know what the facilities are like. I don't know what but like it's starting to trend in the right direction. Like you went from flying Southwest, now you're flying charter. Like people are watching your games closely. Like there are faces of the league. Like I think it's trending. So to stop that momentum, to be like, we're holding out till we get what we want, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think they should try and threaten that because at the end of the day, like, I mean, because if you stop the momentum, people will stop watching and not think twice about it. And then when you try and start back up again, you got to come with a whole new heat and wave. It's like out of sight, out of mind. Don't do that. Don't go on strike. Don't miss any games. Like I think the momentum's heading in the right direction, and the ones right now might have to sacrifice so that when the Jujus of the world get to the
star.
Yeah, when they get to the league, like their benefits may be better, but you work. It's kind of like what the older guys in the NBA did for the guys now, which is unfortunate they don't get to reap the benefits, but it's like that's the sisterhood or brotherhood that
they're laying the groundwork, and there is a whole nother batch of stars coming in that are going to be huge. Like that chick, the blonde chick on USC, I forget her name.
You mean TCU?
No, on USC, on South Carolina. She's a forward.
Oh, yeah. The
pretty girl.
Shooter,
she's a star.
Yeah.
Juju, the way she hoops is crazy. Paige Beckers.
Haley Van Lith.
There's a lot coming in. So it's like a new wave of stars. And people always say, what's going to make the WNBA more interesting? For me, I enjoy the basketball. I've always enjoyed the basketball because as a high school coach, and you're going to laugh, as a high school coach, I get way more out of watching a WNBA game than I do out of an NBA game. Because I can watch an NBA, I'll tell you why. Listen, and this will make sense to you. I can watch an NBA game and there's an action being run 1 out of every 6 or 7 possessions that I look at and I'm like, oh, wait, rewind it. What was that? What happened here? Like I can get something out of it. And that WNBA, they're running actions almost every possession because they can't rely so heavily on athleticism. It's really about like feeding the ball. So it's much more close to high school basketball than the NBA is. Yeah. So I enjoyed watching the WNBA a lot as a coach. The basketball is what it is. What's going to make it more interesting is the storylines. Is the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark? Is the Juju versus Caitlin? Is the Angel versus whatever? All that stuff is what makes the game more interesting. And that is starting to come. The internet's helping with that.
Yeah, I mean, and you turn around on the TV and they're getting ESPN coverage. Like that was not happening that often.
Prime
like,
time.
Your playoffs were actually, people were dialed in and focused on that. Like don't stop that momentum. I think they got a good thing going on. It's not going to be overnight. These things do take time, but you're getting things that you're asking for.
Yeah.
And I think a new CBA is coming up for them, and maybe that's what she was kind of referring to.
Yeah, I think that's what referring to, yeah.
But I wouldn't hold out because,
just
keep the product moving forward because you guys have done an amazing job.
Yeah.
And don't stop that momentum.
Shout out to WNBA. I do want to ask you about Steph Curry making 4,000 threes. 4,000 NBA threes made in his career. And what I want to ask you is, if you were alone in a gym, so you have no rebounder, so you got to chase down every shot, how long would it take for you to make 4,000?
I can make 100 threes with rebounders in, I would say, under 11 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's with rebounders, right? And that's going at a pretty good pace.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is crazy, by the way. By the way, quick stop, just to toot your horn a little bit. I went to that workout, and you made 320-something threes in a half-hour workout, which is crazy.
Okay, so then you take probably away half that time.
Yeah.
So half those makes 3.
So think about like how many.
I would have to say have to be 20 plus hours straight, but then you add in fatigue. Like this isn't like NBA 2K where like you can just circle, dot, dot, like, and now you have like full stamina.
You're like tendinitis is real. Like how long can you really shoot?
4,000 threes? Like, and know what's the difference is like you'll be in a gym by yourself. This guy is doing it with guys that are like
in his face,
punching him in the head, like pushing him, like running around, like it's unreal. Kyle Korver told me a funny story when he was in Utah, and I guess his now wife was at the game. It was there for like warm-ups and saw, how, when we're shooting before the game, like you're going through slow, you're kind of grooving, you're feeling good. And, the game starts, he has a bad game.
Korver does?
Yeah, Korver has a bad game, and he's like, he's with his now wife in the car, and, they're talking, and she was like, you know what your problem is? Is like, you don't do anything game speed before the game. You know what I'm going to do next time? I'm going to go out there and I'm literally going to chase you around in warm-ups with a knife. And you're going to have to like make shots like and move fast and run away from me. And I just...
Like in dodgeball, throwing the
This
wrench.
is when we were teammates back in Utah. And I just thought it was so funny that like his wife understood that like if you don't do things at like game speed, then you're, not going to see the results that you want. And the fact that Kyle like still told the story and now is my boss.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's down there, huh?
He's in the front office at the Hawks. So I think that
is funny. Yeah. I'm picturing dodgeball when that old guy was throwing the wrench at them. You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. You want to hear my math on this? On this 4,000 threes?
You would take a year.
This is, just hear me out.
I've seen you shoot. You would take a year.
First off, I shoot well.
And you get your own rebound.
That's where it's going to take.
You look like an upside-down bowling pin.
You mean I'm top-heavy with a small bottom? Is that what you're saying? That's
no, you got
up.
tiny legs.
I do now.
Look at them. When someone laughs and then rests their hand on their
That's
belly.
fucked. Come on. Are we body shaming here? George Niang? Come on, man. Okay, let me tell you what I think. Ready? I think I could make an average of 2 threes a minute. Meaning I could take probably 5. I could probably take 5 shots a minute. I make 2 of them. I'm shooting low here. 2 threes a minute. That means 120 threes an hour, which the math is it would take me 33 hours to make 4,000 threes. Now, I couldn't shoot for more than 2 hours. I think if I shot NBA threes for more than probably an hour and a half, I would get tendinitis. I mean, dude.
I don't even see you making like, you're used to like college threes. Like the first minute, I can see you, first couple minutes, I can see you making 2.
Yeah.
Actually, no, maybe you could make like 3. But when the ball starts going all over the place, you need a rebounder for this.
Yeah, with the rebounder, I could go. With the rebounder, I could go.
Shut up.
With the rebounder, if you're not moving, you can make 10 in a row.
Yeah, you don't have that. Not from NBA range.
From the corner, I do.
Check Kevin's YouTube, How to Beat a Pro. You stink.
Check it out. We got to rerun that. I almost beat you in that first one. Okay. I want to do something. Oh, first off, we got to talk really quick about Scalabrini, friend of the pod.
Oof. Shout out, Scal.
Guys, listen to me. Listen. You cannot beat an NBA player. You can't even beat a WNBA player. Yes, I know you played JV basketball. I know. You can't beat an NBA player. No matter how old they are or how bad you think they are, you cannot beat them. Unless you played high-level college basketball and the NBA player is very old or is Raymond Felton. I'm sorry, he got he put on a few pounds.
He will still bust someone's ass. Don't Raymond, we're not doing that here.
A lot of college players.
I'm not letting that happen.
A lot of people in the AM Hoops run who are still in shape, 25-year-old hoopers, could probably give
Shut up. You're an idiot.
But this guy, I mean, look at the clips. He bodied this poor dude.
But that dude, like, honestly, I couldn't play that dude because some of the ways he was fouling, that would have set me off.
100 out of 100 NBA players would have laughed it off. Scal wants smoke. Yeah. He wants that smoke, and he'll come for you. Like, be careful, because he will come for you. And he gave him one in the chin.
Oh, did he really?
Oh, Scal.
Well, the thing is like Scal is one of those like old school dudes, so he knows the tricks of the trade of like how to catch you with one. Like he was in the era of where like, guys were doing like tricky stuff. You know, now it's just like I'm gonna bust your ass, blah blah blah, talk a little shit. He was in the era where it was like KG, like, nah, I'm gonna pop you one, because they didn't have cameras from every single angle.
You get away with
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Scal, I might have to play you one-on-one to get ready for the season next year. But I ain't gonna lie to you. You got a good scheme going on there. Drive it hard at him, make him feel the pain, and then shoot a couple mid-range, make it, then talk some shit. I like that.
11-0. He killed it. Okay, before we wrap up, I do want to do our top 5 segment. Okay. I'm going to give you, I was just thinking about this because I talk with a lot of people who are NBA fans that just, it's hard to take some of these people seriously with the things they say. And it's just like these buzzwords that drive me insane that people don't even know what they mean. And so I came up with the top 5 most overused terms when people talk about basketball.
Go.
Number 5.
Uh-huh.
This is such a Twitter. People start using this word. They're like, I'm so smart. I know what I'm talking about. And that's drop coverage. People are like, no, it's drop coverage. It's like, dude, just because a center backs up, you think you understand everything that's happening defensively. They're like, oh, like everybody on Twitter is like, oh, if Carl Anthony, no, it's not you. It's not you. It's people that think they know about basketball that are like, Carl Anthony Towns is in drop coverage here. You should see what's really happening. It's like you have no idea what the coverage is on the rest of the court, and you think you can understand what's happening because you see a center backing up.
Okay, people should, I'm going to give you a quick basketball lesson here. Okay. What drop coverage essentially is there is the ball handler. There is his defender. Right?
There is a screener and a defender.
And there is a screener, and if that defender is all the way back in the paint while that screen is being set, that is considered
drop coverage.
A deep drop coverage.
Yes.
Right? Now, if that center is up and pursuing the ball, like jumping out, as we call
hedging, people,
that is not a drop coverage. But I think what some of you get confused with is, you know, yes, a drop coverage would be considered if there's a ball screen and the big continues to back up as the guard is dribbling the ball back. And now that we have shooting bigs, they throw the ball back to the big. Yes, so that could be considered a drop coverage. But if a lot of teams are switching and moving away from a drop coverage, I actually said it back when I was in Philly and got thrashed by the
said we shouldn't be in drop coverage
by the Knicks fans. You know, when I did say it about Tibbs and
oh wait, I didn't even know this. I think
it was ridiculous.
Okay,
but it was ridiculous that the fans were like coming after me. I saw the like video resurface. It was after like a Christmas game where I made like a bunch of threes.
Oh, I didn't know this.
All right,
as a screener.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
First off, as a basketball fan, I also think it's a lazy way of playing defense. Like,
what's a lazy way of playing defense?
First off, in today's NBA, if your big is dropping in this drop coverage, you can get hit in 2 different places.
Oh,
one,
yeah?
Can I tell you?
Go.
One is the ball handler. A lot of them can shoot the 3 off of the dribble. So,
and what percentage of like every team that you play in a night, what percentage do you think they shoot off the dribble?
What percentage across the NBA?
Yeah, there's some that do it elite, and there's others that don't.
Like Donovan Mitchell is elite.
Okay, yes, he is elite. So therefore, running a drop coverage against him would not be beneficial. But for some other teams, you want to keep your big at the rim because your other guys can then funnel these 3-point shooters to the rim to then have to shoot contested 2s over your big. If you switch, the other team's big gets to roll your little guard down there.
Right.
And
Of
bigs
course.
aren't usually pressuring these guys. They're trying to keep them in front. So when these little guards shoot threes contested against the bigs, your little guard is then there trying to rebound against the other team's big.
Okay.
So that's why a drop is beneficial.
Okay. Understood. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Here's another thing. I'd like to get your take on this that people throw out as a stat all the time. That's such a horrible way to tell the story of a game. Plus minus. My God. First off, a lot of people don't even know what plus minus is.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't even know.
It has its value, but it doesn't tell.
Over the course of a season, it has its value. Over the course of 10, 15 games, it's impossible to tell a player's value in a single game with the plus minus if that's the only stat you're looking at.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, let's give an example, a 6-man is going to play with a second unit. And if that team's second unit historically isn't very good, that player may be the only person getting buckets on that second unit and really keeping the game afloat, but the plus minus is going to be bad because he's out there when they're
I would say that would be more or less if a starter was then putting up
playing
unit
against a second unit.
Because
okay.
Like when he starts, it's a good unit. It's solid. He helps.
That makes sense. 6-man is coming in with starters usually.
Yes, yes.
That makes sense. You get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
You play with a second unit, your plus minus is going to be off. Also,
sometimes your second unit is better than your starter.
yes.
So
yeah, I'm just saying it's such a team emphasized stat that if you give it like, oh, they had a bad game, they were minus 14. It's like you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. You can't tell that it's a good or bad game by that stat alone. Here's another thing that annoys me is when people say a player is a good pick and roll player. They're a good pick and roll player, like as a point guard. I want to follow up and say, what skill sets do you think make this person a good pick and roll player? And I think 8 out of 10 people they'd have no idea. It's just a buzzword. They're a good pick and roll player. They're a good pick and roll. What makes them a good pick and roll player?
This just goes to show the people that you're talking to. Yeah. In your friend group. I think what makes a good pick and roll player, you can pass would have to be one. Either you can finish elitely at the rim or you can score off the dribble. Or you have a pretty good mid-range or a really good rolling big.
I think that there's two things because I think of when I hear pick and roll player, I'm thinking of a guard. Yeah. So I think the best pick and roll player in the NBA is probably the guy you play with is Trae Young, and I think there's two reasons why. I guess you could throw passing in there also, but if you're a really good passer, he's an elite passer.
Yeah.
But Trae Young can shoot the three off the dribble, which creates matchup nightmares for a pick and roll coverage, and he also is an elite floater. Has an elite floater.
And you have those an elite passer.
Elite passer. You have those three things. You're going to be an incredible pick and roll player. Another thing is like what we hear a lot is, oh, he's just a role player. That's kind of corny. We don't have to get into that, but that's overused all the time.
I would say role players actually have value in different places, right? You can go from being a star to a role player on a better team.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's just a corny thing. I think it's overused all the time. People like
if you don't have an all-star next to your name.
Every team needs role players. Like a team doesn't exist without everybody playing a role. And then last, what annoys me the most is when people say today's NBA. I don't watch today's NBA. I want to say, what about today's NBA do you think is worse than yesterday's NBA? Because I'll tell you what's a million times better. The athleticism, the skill set, the offensive schemes, what people do defensively, literally every part of the game is better than yesterday's NBA. And if you don't believe it, go watch a game from the 90s. They are almost laughable to watch. Of course they're good. They're great athletes.
They were big and strong.
Big and strong.
That was a physical.
Sure.
That was a physical game. Like they say like we couldn't play in their era and we say they can't play in our era. There are some physical dudes out there.
Yeah.
And like I shook Charles Oakley's hand last night. He was at our game in Atlanta. And I
monster.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, taking an elbow from him coming down cuz those are like mean, like they're not doing it for the fame, they're not doing it for the Instagram. They were doing it for pure winning habits. So I'll give them their credit. That was a physical game, and you weren't allowed to like kind of be skillful, because being skillful, someone would just push you over.
Yes.
And I'm not so sure some of the skillful guys back then could handle that. But then again,
It's hard for me to think
them
that,
coming into our NBA where we're like, their go-to mid-range pull-up isn't really flying.
no.
Here.
And also, like, it's hard for me to think that Bill Laimbeer could play in today's NBA. It's like you have to have a certain skill set.
What do you mean? Yeah,
I mean, I've never seen.
Is that a bruiser, rebounder?
Sure. That was huge in the late '80s. You don't. What you need at the center.
Steven Adams,
I'll tell
Mason
you.
Plumlee.
Okay, 2. Here's what you really need. Here's what you really need in today's NBA at the center position.
What?
Someone who can shoot, spread the floor, KP. This is why I think Luka Garza is going to be a starter in this league sooner than later, because I think he stretches the floor so well.
Okay, Isaiah.
Or Isaiah, or a rim protector. By the way, he is offensively skilled. He is 10 times
He doesn't shoot threes.
Sure, but his little floater and
money.
it's money, and him passing from the nail is on point too. Yeah. He's nice. So he's much better than Bill Laimbeer. Anyway, that gets me fired up. That's my top 5. Next week we should get your top 5 players you're glad you don't have to play against in today's NBA.
You heard it here first. With that being said, go to MyBookie, sign up using the promo code GrillGuy. Half your bet.
Half of your deposit is matched up to $2,000.
Let's go.
Sign up.
Sign up right now. It's March Madness. Let's go. You heard it here first on the Bench Sheet Podcast. I'm George Niang. This is Kevin Spees. We're out.